Where am I? Who am I?
Why are people I hardly know saying I've been asleep for 100 years? Well, my friend, it seems like you've got the bad case of being a video game protagonist. Call this trope overused or an old reliable, but there have been countless main characters who enter the unknown with nothing but a name or a sword in hand. And yes, it is used a lot, we know. But here's out. There is a reason why games keep coming back to this certain trope. Welcome to Game 8, and you know what? The Amnesiac Hero is the quintessential video game trope. Amnesia is a general term to describe a kind of memory loss, whether it's losing information about certain things or events, or even someone's entire life and identity. Most games do a general clean sweep of the main character's memories, and they do it for a reason. Amnesia at the beginning of the game allows for a natural flow of information, setting players up to be able to build up their know-how according to the game's design. In this video, we want to show how Amnesia opens up 3 important avenues for the game it's in. 1. It sets up what the players know. 2. It integrates itself into the gameplay. And 3. It affects the entire overarching story. Basically, would the story be the same without it? And also, warning! Spoiler alert for the following games. The Gravity Queen. A gem originally from the PS Vita, Kat from Gravityrush is a girl from the city of Hexville who fights against malevolent forces as a superhero. The setup of the game suddenly drops the player into a heated situation, with Kat just as confused as the players are about the powers she apparently possesses. So in effect, the players are there to learn alongside Kat. Kat's memory of her own past is marred in a haze, but one thing that hasn't been taken away from her are her supernatural abilities. The first part of the game pulls you through a tutorial, where you use Kat's powers for the first time. This is an example of the main character learning the ropes alongside the player, breaking the mechanics down one step at a time. This is how it integrates itself into the game. Her adventures are fueled by the need to know where her powers come from, becoming an inherent motivation from the get-go for the players. The game later rewards them when they finally uncover the truth. Plot-wise, losing her memories is the impetus that gives Kat that drive to find answers. Without the loss of something important, in this case her memories, Kat might not have set off to be a gravity-defying superhero in the first place, and it would make for a very, very different journey. Cloud Strife, Soldier, First Class, or so he thought he was. Now this is a special case in this list. It's not explicitly mentioned that Cloud suffered amnesia, but as the game progresses, it becomes clear that his memory has been toyed with by external factors. He starts to question his own perceptions of certain truths that, as the player, we initially believe in too. After witnessing the death of his best friend Zack Fair, Cloud's reality started to distort, eventually returning to Midgar, embodying certain aspects of his fallen friend. But as you progress through the game, the misplacement of identity and memory really hits with that identity crisis thing hard. Not just on Cloud, but the companions who care about him too. An especially important character to Zack is Aerith, who Zack fell in love with years before, and who Cloud potentially has a thing with. Yikes. Dating your best friend's ex, I mean, accident or no accident, you're kinda dating your best friend's ex. As things shine clear, the game has Cloud clouded in the wake of not knowing what is fact or fiction, and you can't help but feel for him after all he had been through. By trickling in information that should belong to Cloud, only to reveal that it actually belongs to another person, it creates this mystique that keeps you on your toes, and without it, the storyline would not be as compelling as it eventually became. It is one of the most iconic video game classics after all. With Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the way, it is going to be very, Very interesting how he will deal with his messed up memories given, well, you know.
7 seconds till the end. Time enough for you, perhaps. But what will you do with it? Let's see.
In Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, you create your version of the protagonist, whether it's a reflection of yourself or one with your own in-depth lore and your own drive, a warrior to fight against the Sith. You set this all up only for the ground below to shatter beneath your feet, because all that you thought you were, it was all a lie. You were betrayed by a close Sith ally. You were injured and taken in by the Jedi, who wiped your memories clean, replacing all that you once were with a false identity. You are one of the most powerful Sith to terrorize your age. You are Darth Revan. BioWare did what it did best. Let the player create everything about their character, from backstory to looks, only to pull the rug from underneath your feet as protagonist becomes antagonist. All throughout, the game is hellbent on making people think Darth Revan is dead. This revelation is a galaxy-shaking shock, making players second-guess who their character is, who they are. Where do they begin? And where does Darth Revan end? Imagine coming in hot from that big reveal. Everything around you starts to look different. The game drops a classic Star Wars reveal that subverts everything the player and main character know, making them second-guess any sense of security they once had. The Darth Revan Amnesia bomb was truly one of the biggest moments in KOTOR, and we cannot imagine the game without it. Hey, even spin-offs can have you start from square one. When an IP wants to reinvigorate a character, Amnesia is a cool way to have someone already so beloved reintroduced in a new light. For those familiar with Mega Man X, you most likely know about Zero. In the Mega Man Zero series, the titular Zero is a Maverick Hunter, a skilled fighter who takes down rogue androids or Reploids, who falls into stasis for 100 years and, you know the drill by now, loses his memories of his previous life. Rescued by the scientist Seal, he discovers that the world has changed. Reploids are being wrongly accused as Mavericks, and all of this wrongdoing is happening under the legendary Mega Man X. Shocked, Zero sets out on a quest to find answers. He battles rogue Mavericks and enemy Reploids who are guided by the will of this X. It is unimaginable to think that X, this paragon of justice, could be capable of such nefarious deeds. So, Zero clings to hope as he fights to meet his former friend. And perhaps X will have the answers as to how Zero fell into slumber in the first place. This is an example of taking a familiar character and giving them a blank slate. But longtime fans of the series can still recognize him, the story, and the themes surrounding him. It's a fresh way to subvert known lore, creating that unique twist that veers away from the original source material, but still giving tribute to it. What's with all these guys sleeping for 100 years, am I right? Link from The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, awakens 100 years later to a completely different Hyrule. After being heavily wounded in a battle against Calamity Ganon, the prolonged slumber had made him lose his memories as well. He returns to the Land of the Waking a century later in a cave with nothing, and half of nothing, but a plea from a mysterious voice. For both Link and the player, when you have nothing but those two things going on, your natural instinct is to try and get out of there. This setup allows us to immediately be immersed with Link's mindset. Link's amnesia is a prime example of using the character's state as an active way to reveal stories. Link has forgotten much about his Princess Zelda and sets out to recover his lost memories. You travel all over Hyrule in search of places you've been to, and we think that alone gives players a strong sense of purpose and reward when you finally get your memories back. While most of the other games we've talked about were more straightforward and, narratively speaking, inevitable in revealing past memories, Breath of the Wild does it in a way that makes you get your hands a little dirty. by not having it be a necessary thing to finish the game. Well, I'm sure you've seen speedruns of Speedo Link before. It does give it more gravitas when you reach the ending with a clear, memory-filled head. Breath of the Wild has a beautiful way of sharing bits and pieces of Link's old life, the relationships he had, and the old world he left behind. Exploring the story goes hand in hand in exploring Hyrule, and this accentuates the spirit of adventure all Zelda stories are known and loved for. It also helps that Hyrule is just so damn beautiful to travel through. A trope can be applied in various different ways. It's really up to the team behind the game how well the execution goes. Having that blank slate opens up a lot of possibilities. It sets up what the players should know at the beginning and builds off that to set the pace the game wants you to take. It also allows the game to integrate strong motivations into the players. Like many of the examples we mentioned, a lot of the driving forces stem from a lack of knowing and the strong need to have their answers answered. People crave for a sense of belonging, a sense of who they are, and that human nature can become an incredibly powerful narrative device. And lastly, Amnesiac heroes have the profound ability to impact the characters and players by taking something so vital away. The moment players are able to reap the rewards, there is that sense of victory, that sense of fulfillment, that shot of dopamine that you can't get enough of when you recognize how powerful you truly are, when you reconcile with your dark past, when you remember why that someone on your mind had always been so important to you. Therefore, I would posit that it is way okay to keep using these tropes. They're still being used to this day for a reason. Sure, there possibly may be some examples of poor execution out there, but it's really all about how well the plot knife stabs in and twists how it needs to, in order to open up compelling narratives that are still out there. So, what do you guys think? Are there any more Amnesiac heroes out there that we may have missed? Why not tell us in the comments down below? And if you want to stay tuned to our goings on, you can follow us on Twitter or like and subscribe to our channel. This has been Game8, signing off.